Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about the 90s charm drama and how, as a huge charm fan, I'm just over it. Like, I'm done. I am over it. I'm tired of it, man. Like, I'm so sick and tired of it. Now here's the thing. Now I'm the type of person who loves a good juicy story. I love when people spill the tea, especially when it's celebrities, and especially when it's on a show that I love to watch. And there's a lot of TV dramas that I want to know right now. Like, I'm hearing some of the craziest things about the Buffy show that I never knew before. Like how a lot of people didn't like David, the dude who played Angel, that he is kind of like, he sees it as his colleagues, not his friends, and he doesn't interact with none of the co-stars and stuff. How Sarah would be sometimes rude to people, but because she had to carry the whole show on her shoulders, and she wanted to do movies, and then there's the whole Josh Whedon thing, and and like holy crap. The woman who played Willow, I had no idea she was so despised by her co-stars and stuff. Because apparently she's so close with Josh Whedon still to this day, her and her husband, that she has alienated herself from the rest of her co-stars. That Charisma does not follow or talk to her. The person, Amber, who played like her girlfriend, apparently she didn't like her on the show. And Allison and Sarah didn't get along. And it's like, holy crap, like that's the stuff I want to hear. You know what I'm saying? Then there's like the whole Star Trek Voyager of like the actress who plays Captain Janeway did not like the actress who plays Seven of Nine, and it upset a lot of the cast members but they all get along now. And like, the whole Sliders drama of like, people thought John originally quit, but he actually really got fired. And then like Sabrina left the show because she was getting bullied by Kari. But then Kari recently came out and said like, Sabrina didn't like another female being on the show and all this other stuff. And it's like, like this is the type of stuff like, I want to hear. And when it came to charm, just like everybody else, man, I heard the rumors too back in the days, like 20, 30 something years ago, you know what I'm saying? And like, I'm always like, yo, man, what the world happened and everything? Like, spill that tea and everything. And it's one thing to spill the tea, but then it's another thing to where the tea becomes so toxic and like, and when I mean toxic, I mostly mean from Rose. Like, seriously, Rose. Like, seriously, man. It's like, say what you gotta say, but you ain't gotta say it like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, the bickering between, like, all the sisters and, like, this recent not Comic-Con, but this one convention where, like, 3 of the sisters were, like, on stage, but then Alyssa was, like, by herself on the stage the next day and all this other stuff and podcasts and books and it's to the point where I just no longer care. And it's not that I don't care because I'm not curious. I don't care because my perception of this show has been tainted now. Like, I can't look at this show with the same eyes as I used to when I watched it back when it was in production or when I watched it when it was on DVD and stuff. It's just so jarring now. Like, it has really ruined my experience of watching the show. Like, heck, I still want to know about the drama with the Charm reboot because even they had problems with each other. Well, one accusing somebody of touching or something like that, and one's all like, "I would never do that," and then she deleted her Twitter account. It's like, yo, man, what happened with the reboot? But when it comes to that of the OG show, the best Charm one in my opinion, that reboot was not good. But when it comes to that of the OG like Charm show, I can't take the drama no more, man. I really can't, and there's so much information being given out, and it's like, what exactly is true? Because the moment somebody says something, another person says this did not happen. Then you gotta get the accounts of like guest star appearances on the show, and they give a different interpretation of what really went down. And then you get the co-stars interpretations, and then they have a different story. Then you have people who know them from the outside, and it's all like, well, who wrote memoirs and everything. And when they wrote in their books, they're like, look, man, this person tried to do this, and that, and then yet this person claims no, it was the other person. And so there's so much information, and because it's over like what 30 something years ago, people aren't always going to remember every detail, and they always see it from their point of view. And then even if they do tell the truth, they don't tell the truth to the full extent, because of course they're gonna make themselves look good and everything, and so it's just so hard. And they truly are sisters, man. There's all this bickering and everything, but the consensus to all this drama from what so many of the charmed stars, the four sisters, and now the fans are trying to say that it's mainly Alyssa's fault. And honest to God, I don't think it was entirely her. I do think she was one of the main factors of the drama, but for what reason and why? You know what I'm saying? And it's hard because like, who the heck do you believe? Because even when you start to believe one, like say Holly's always been that one that people always believe because she was the one in the middle. She was kind of like the motherly mediator type person. She knew Shannon for 10 years ago before the show started. She worked with Alyssa, and she did another show with Alyssa for like one episode. And she's saying, look, I've said this before. Holly always seems like that one who's stuck in the middle, who does not want to take sides, but at that same time will still get along with her co-stars even if she doesn't agree with them. But now it's getting to the point where it's even like, do you even believe what she's saying, especially when she throws shade because she's irritated because somebody will say something and she'll be like, whoa, hold up now. I'm getting thrown in the middle, and I know for a fact that didn't happen, and no, or something like that. And so now it's kind of like, you get all these different versions. And the thing is, ain't nobody ever gonna know the real truth of what truly really happened on set behind the scenes, because everybody keeps saying something different. And even when three of them will say something similar, they still say something different. And then you got all these other stars coming in and they say stuff, and it's so frustrating because this was a great show, man. Now, I will get into some of the details, even though I don't want to, because I'm just, like I said, I'm done. And I don't want to add on to, all that drama and crap like that. But you got to give some context and everything, So, sadly, whatever. But it's like, it's hard to watch this show the same way, because I can't do it no more. Like, I really can't. And this was a great show. It had technically four female leads. They was witches. It was on a brand new network and everything. At first, the network was kind of struggling, but then they found like its peak and everything. And Charm was one of those type of like vehicles on like the network that propelled it into the legend that it is now. Buffy was another one, but Charmed and Buffy was like, when I think of the WB, I think of Charmed and Buffy. I really didn't watch anything else on the WB, but I just watched Charmed and Buffy. And there was a couple of things I watched, like Popular, but then remember I said that got canceled the moment I started watching. I was like, oh man. But Charmed and Buffy, for me, that is the WB. And these are four. These are amazing actresses. I keep saying three, but it's technically four. But they're like, they're amazing actresses. They've been in other stuff. I've been a fan of theirs for decades, even though I stopped being a fan of Rose. I'll get in that probably a little bit later. Oh, Rose McGowan, I swear to God. Like, do you have to say things the way you do? But you know, it's like this. Even if they don't get along with each other, I am still a massive fan of like, okay, right now I'm gonna talk about the three, Holly, Shannon, and Alyssa. I've been a massive fan of all three of those for like decades, man. You know, I've crushed on every single last one of them. I've watched them when I was a kid. I've watched them when I was a teenager, and I've watched them when I was an adult. And so when I see new projects with them in it, I get happy and I get thrilled because these are the charmed ones and everything, you know? Like when I was a kid, I watched Beverly Hills 90210 and I just fell head over heels over Shannon and everything. And then when she left the show, I was so sad and everything. I was sad. And you know, no, I was a teenager, I think, when I watched that. And then when I was like a kid, I watched like Who's the Boss? And I just loved Alyssa and everything. And you know, but Holly, I had no idea who she was. I didn't know who she was until like Charmed. And in the moment I laid eyes on her, like, who are you? And I'm like, I still like the other two, but hey. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, you know, and so I get really happy and excited. Not that kind of happy and excited. Get your mind out the gutter. I get really happy and excited when I see them in other projects and everything. And like I said, I used to be a Rose fan as well and everything until I recently stopped. And so like, okay, I'm gonna get a little quick. One reason why I stopped liking Rose, she is rude. Like she's just rude and everything. I remember when she first shaved her head and she came out with that weird music video and everything. I just started thinking, what the world is happening with her? Because it was just like a weird music video. And then this is back when Facebook, they had like, you know, they started doing like the Facebook Live. I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like, it's not really a story. It's like when you're on the web, like you're on like the camera and you're talking to your fans and you're probably with somebody else and you read their messages, whatever that's called. I remember when Facebook first started doing that. They probably did it before Instagram did it. And I remember like, cool, man, I get to watch this person in real time, man. You know, I'm a fan of theirs and get to hear them talk. And, you know, and she was somewhere near a building. I think there was like steps near the building. And so it was nighttime and she's there and she's reading some of the comments. One guy said one thing and she just went nuts on him. Basically, it's been a good while. And I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but the gist of it went like this. The part I remember 100% is he said he misses her long hair. The part that I'm kind of fuzzy about is what he said next. He either said, I wish you would grow it back, you should grow it back, or he said grow it back. And she saw that and she just started throwing out F-bombs. She's like, F you, no, you don't tell me what the F and do and blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, this is my hand, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, dude, chill out. Like if he says that he wishes she would grow it back, there's no reason to get pissed about that. If he said you should grow it back, still there is no reason to get pissed about, because that's just his opinion. Like, you should grow it back because, you know, I like it when it's long and long hair is cool, blah, blah. People say crap like that all the time. Now, if he told her what to do, like if he said like grow it back, then I understand why she got pissed. But the fact that she got so pissed, she started cussing this man out. I'm all like, dude, what is wrong with her? But I still stayed a fan of hers. And, you know, during the whole Me Too moment, you know, I was still a fan of hers. I believe her against that nasty, disgusting old man, Harvey Weinstein and everything. But then after that, it was the blame game that started getting on my nerves. When she was constantly blaming other people left and right and stuff like that. And like she blamed Ben Affleck because she said like he knew and he didn't do nothing. I think what it was, she told him, and I don't know what the heck happened after that. And, you know, I feel bad if that really did happen and stuff. I don't even know if he's ever commented on that or not. And then she went after Oprah Winfrey for some bizarre reason. And then she started going after other celebrities. I'm just like, what the heck is going on with her? Then it came to politics. And she started acting really, really weird and bizarre around this time. And I've said this before. If you have to flip-flop on politics, that I can't trust you, because I don't know which way you truly feel if you got flip-flop and everything. And the things that she was saying was just so strange and bizarre. It's just like, whoa, this don't sound like you and everything. And somebody said something about she suffers from mental illness and that one party is using her. That could be it. That actually could be it. I honestly have no idea. But it was just like, but then what was so weird is that, she got pissed at Alyssa because of like Alyssa's husband, because Alyssa defended Harvey's wife and everything. And so she's all like, she's complicit on this, the Harvey's wife, and she had to have known. And you really don't know if she truly did or not. She probably heard rumblings, but most of the time when it is the wife, a good, I'd say about 70%, they probably knew. You know what I'm saying? Because how could they not? Like, they had to have heard something. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, but then again, you never really truly 100% know if they really knew anything or not. Because a lot of people didn't know, but they've heard rumblings, And so, like, I'm like, okay, if you're gonna get mad at Alyssa, then instead get mad at the husband if he really works for that I forget the name of the company. I'll get in that a little bit later when I know what that company is. It's something like CPA or something like that. Like, if they truly are working to hide and cover crap up, then be mad at the husband. Don't be mad at her. And it's like, then it came to the Asha woman. That woman from the Triple X movie, Vin Diesel, she got me too because she was laying in bed nude with like a teenage boy who she worked with and knew when she was younger. And he said that she messed around with him when he was like younger. And, then her text message got leaked and everything where she told her friend, she didn't know how old he was. And he came on to her. But then it's kind of weird. I'm like, dude, you worked with him. You should have known like around his age, but maybe she didn't know his age. But then again, she lives in one of those countries where the age of 16 is consent. But look, dude, you wasn't in that country. You was in America, and that's a big no-no. And so when it came to the whole Asha thing, I'm just like, I don't trust that woman whatsoever. But, what's her name? Rose backed off of like Asha, because Asha threatened to sue her and everything, talking about, I lost job opportunities because of you, and blah, 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 stuff like that. And Rose, oddly enough, backed off. And when she backed off, that's when that tone of shift to her shifted, and she started blaming people who are actually good. I'm all like, why aren't you going after the bad people who you should be going after? Why are you going after the good ones and everything? So that kind of stems of why I'm just so done with like Rose McGowan and everything. And when it comes to Scream and Jawbreaker, man, Rose McGowan was not acting. She was being herself, boy. But I will still give it up. She is a really good actress and stuff. It's just the things she says and the way she says it. And the things that she accused people of with no proof, it just got too much for me to where I'm just like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Now, I can't stand her no more. But anyway, so like, I'm gonna get into detail, like, like I said before about like, the rumors and accusations, and I'm gonna try to look at all those rumors and stuff and accusations through the eyes of like a celebrity, which I'm not, through the eyes of a woman, which I'm not, and thank God, because I love being a man, and through the eyes of a person who watches teen dramas, which I do. And so like, because the thing is, with the rumors you heard in the past, it was so vague, but now all this detail coming out, and most of it centered around Alyssa and everything. And when you learn how old she was during the show and some other things, it's just kind of like, okay, things are starting to click, and you start to piece together, like, your perception of what might actually be going on, because like I said, there's so much conflicting information. But like I said before, it is sad when I watch Charm now, because I rarely talk about it on my channel. I think I reviewed maybe like 2 episodes probably. And I was so like happy when I reviewed those shows because it's Charmed, you know what I'm saying? Like, on the WB, I used to watch like Buffy and that was awesome. And then I used to watch Charmed. And Charmed was just a very different type of show. I love witches like in TV shows and movies, but witches were always portrayed as being evil. Charmed was probably like the first show I've ever seen like a witch being portrayed in a good light. And their chemistry was just like amazing. Like they really felt like sisters. And the way they act now in real life, they kind of do seem like sisters, but they also seem kind of like, as Alyssa Milano put it, a high school clique. Because that one convention, yeah, that seemed very cliquish. And like I said before, I'll get into that a little bit later. Anyway, but Charm was a really good show. It was different. It was unique. You had 3 female leads, which was like, ironic at that time because that was only really around like the 70s and maybe the 80s, but really the 70s. And it was always like cop dramas and stuff. Or like a sitcom like The Golden Girls and everything. But like it was just the 3 young women who was kicking demon butt, man. And like how awesome was that? Because you normally see men do that in like the movies and stuff. It's very rare to see a female fight like demons and monsters, unless it's like Buffy and on the occasion Xena and stuff. But Xena didn't do it that often because of the TV budget. And they weren't laid back females, because when you do have those sorcery type things, the female, if she is a sorceress, she's always laid back. She assists the male, she's kind of like the librarian like vibe type thing they got going on. But here it was just very, very different. They were like in their 20s. They had like different personalities. They had different power sets. You had the whole power of 3 that they couldn't if they didn't use that, then they just couldn't defeat like an enemy and stuff like that. Their whole thing was built on their sisterly bond. Once you break that bond, then that's when all like the bad stuff starts to happen and the world could end and everything. So I always loved that whole strong family sense of togetherness and strong female empowerment and stuff. Now I think what was that? I reviewed like the pilot, or I reviewed maybe it was the monster movie one, the slasher movie one. I reviewed it, and even though I was still happy to talk about it, when I rewatched it to get my bearings and everything, it's like instead of watching it with my eyes happy and excited and being like, ooh, this is awesome or something like that, I'm all like, oh, it's the 2 people who can't get along. Oh, here, like behind the scenes, they had so much drama. Oh, like, like they're not really happy to be in the same scene together. Like, that's how I feel now. I watch it and all I just see is hate like from all 4 of the girls and everything. Dismay just all around. And then we get the co-lead men in there. It's still, once again, a whole bunch of dismay and everything. And there's so much disdain that it just brings down the show whenever I rewatch it. And I don't want that. Like, it's been a good while since I watched Charmed. Only because, like I said before, I haven't been able to do the DVD thing in like forever because streaming has just taken over. Every time I get done with one streaming site, all of a sudden I subscribe to like another. I'm like, crap. And then I have like a 6-month deal and I'm like, crap. I'm never going to be able to watch a DVD again. And there's some older stuff I've bought from my childhood, man. Like Legion of Superheroes, Chip and Dale. I have not watched that yet. I want to relive my childhood and then stupid streaming. But it is very unflattering when you try to watch a show you love so much and then the only thing that comes to your mind is they can't get along. And And it's like that when you watch the entire show. So it feels like there's a cloud over me whenever I try to watch like Charmed and everything. And it's because of the backstage drama that's still playing out today. And it's one thing to get like, your side of view out, but it's the way they're going about it that seems so catty that like it feels so toxic and everything. Like, just recently there was that convention and all four ladies were there. However, Rose, Shannon, and Holly was there for one night, and Alyssa was there the next night by herself. And when you see the three ladies together, they look confident, they look strong, they look like they're together and everything. They feel like they have a purpose there. And honestly, I feel like that purpose is just to talk smack about Alyssa, which ended up happening and everything. Yeah, they talked about Charm, but people are going to ask them about the drama. They could have avoided it. They could have. But right now, it's the only thing keeping all four of them like relevant and everything. And then you have like Alyssa when you see her on her convention night, and she just looks sad the entire time. She looks like she doesn't want to be there. And it had to have been embarrassing because here you have her other three sisters in solidarity, and here she is off on the side by herself. And it reminds me of that comment that Alyssa made years ago because see, part of the reason why Alyssa was probably I do believe she was a pain in the butt. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I do feel like Alyssa was like smack dab in the middle of like how a lot of this conflict started. But I don't feel like she's the sole bearer of all this conflict. I believe, yes, the three other women are part of the reason. They just don't want to come out and say it because it paints them in a bad light. But just like Holly Marie Combs said, which was so important, not all of them were angels. Like, they all had their their B-side to them and stuff like that. And like when it comes to Alyssa, she said a long time ago that the show felt cliquish because Holly and Shannon were like best friends for like 10 years before Charmed ever started, and she was kind of like the outsider coming in. And when it comes to that, and of course Holly got pissed and clapped back at her and everything, talking about like, because there's the thing about Holly, I can't speak for the other three Charmed sisters, but when it comes to Holly, you do not diss Charmed in any kind of way. She loves that show. Like, because she was there for 8 whole years and she had to watch all that drama unfold and everything. And she had to be there going in and day out, having her co-star and her best friend like at each other, you know what I'm saying? And she had problems behind the set with like the people who ran the show and everything because she wanted to quit after the third season because she didn't want to do it without Shannon. And the thing is like they threatened Holly because the thing a lot of people have been wondering is why didn't Holly just leave? Why didn't Holly step up and say something all those years ago? And you gotta remember the internet was not like the way the internet was now, but why didn't she do anything? That's because she was under contract. And they literally threatened to like sue her and everything if she breached that contract. And then they said if she was to end up leaving the show, no matter what job she would get, they would screw that up for her and just ruin her entire life. And you know how those people are with the suits are and the executive producers at network, they are literally the devil and everything because they just think about money and ratings. So Holly was screwed and she was literally stuck there. And she had to be there with the woman that, like helped get her friend fired and stuff. And so when it comes to Charm, you don't diss the original Charm because Holly does not like that. And Holly will clap back at anybody who talks smack about the OG Charm. She did it towards Kaylee Cuoco back in the day, but I cannot find that quote. Because Kaylee did not have a good time filming the show because it was very different. Kaylee comes from a world of sitcoms, and this is a drama where like you have to freeze, wait for the imaginary CGI stuff to happen, and then you start doing your lines again and moving around. And she was not used to that and felt very uncomfortable. And I can't remember what Holly said to clap back at her because I can't find that quote. Anyway, but Holly pretty much just said this was not high school for her. This did not feel like homework. This was a job. And, and she goes in to talk about like how hard they worked and all this other stuff. And recently, because this whole high school comment keeps brought back up. So about, what has it been, like 24 years since the show has pretty much like ended. And Holly's like, she didn't even go to high school. And I'm just like, don't get sassy like that. It makes you look bad. But Holly is a person who not only will clap back, but she will throw in some shade and stuff. That is who she is. Like when she says none of them were angels, she meant that. But back to the whole feeling like high school, feeling like it's a clique, feeling like an outsider. I can see that happening. I don't know if it truly did or not, but I can see that happening only because, Holly and Shannon were friends for 10 years, and here's Alyssa who just is the person in the middle. So I can see this happening, but I don't believe it was intentional. It just happened like naturally. Because you know how best friends are. They do everything together. They eat together. They go to the bathroom together. They chat. They call each other. So maybe, just maybe, they excluded Alyssa by mistake or something like that. Because in the first season, Shannon and Alyssa did actually get along. It was just sometime around the second season, that's when things went bad. And then if things went bad, then of course, why are you going to hang out with the person who like isn't getting along with your best friend? And it's kind of like picking the sides kind of thing, because, I've had incidents when I was in high school or in college where I would be friends with somebody. I would introduce them to somebody else. And the next thing I know, they end up becoming better friends than like I was with them and everything. Either because they had more in common or they had like a crush on each other and dated. And, that was always like the problem because, I had a bunch of female friends. So when I'll introduce one female friend to another female friend, they end up becoming best friends because they have more in common because they are females. And then when I introduced this one girl to my one guy friend, I'm not even joking. In that night, like after we all said goodbye to each other, after hanging out, they hooked up and then they became like boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm just like, dude, I didn't introduce y'all to like bang and slang and everything. I introduced y'all to hang out. So now I got left out of like the hanging out and stuff like that. And it sucks. And I can understand Alyssa, being in her 20s, young and what. I'll say this right here, right now. Boy, when they played their characters, I truly believe they wasn't even really acting. Like, because Shannon always seems very headstrong, a bit stubborn, the person who's like, the head of the table and everything. And like Alyssa, she really seems like Phoebe by the way, like all these accusations are and stuff. She was young, she was wild, she was just like living it up, being a little bit immature because Phoebe had some immaturity to her and stuff and some playfulness. And, some of that probably rubbed them the wrong way and everything. And so I can see this whole high school cliquish thing happening. But like I said before, it probably wasn't intentional. But you do feel like an outsider when other people start like hanging out more or, and you feel like excluded and stuff. And it's funny because in season 3, that was really the first full-time season I ever watched. The second season, I watched that slasher movie episode. That was the first episode. But when you get into season 3, as I'm watching, and nobody knew the drama back then, I'm just kind of like, something feels off about this show a little bit. Like, Prue and Phoebe were arguing way more than usual and everything towards the end of the series, mostly because of the whole Cole thing, but they was arguing a lot. And I'm just kind of like, what the world is going on? And now I see that because backstage they were arguing in real life and everything. And I bet you anything those writers and producers and directors saw that and were like, yo, let's capitalize on this. Because they will do crap like that. That would happen in the WWE between Matt Hardy and Edge. Like, they had a feud in real life that dealt with Lita because she cheated on Matt with Edge when Matt was in like the hospital recuperating and everything. And when the writers and producers found that out, they incorporated that into both those guys' characters and stuff. And so, yes, writers and executives will see what's going on behind stage and they will, or behind cameras, and they will incorporate that into the show somehow. And, that had to just fuel their problems because they was having problems in real life. And I really feel like the writers and producers and stuff were antagonizing that. Yeah, they wanted to keep the peace, but also if it's good for ratings and good for storytelling, and people can act better when they acting like themselves, they felt like, hey, why not just throw that in? But even though Phoebe and Prue had scenes together, when you get to the middle towards the end, those two are rarely on, like, in the same room, like when the show was filming and stuff. And like, because it's kind of like you'll have a scene and Prue would be someplace else and Phoebe would be someplace else, and you'll have like Piper, who would be the one to like, hang out with the other one. It was like they were separating them on purpose, and now we know that they were. And I always felt weird about when Prue got turned into a dog. I'm just kind of like, what is that about? Is there more meaning to this? Or like, why is Phoebe always like with Cole and by herself and never really with Prue? You started to see that a lot, especially in the finale episode when Phoebe was with Cole underground and it was just Prue and Piper on top and, all this other stuff. And it was just kind of like, it felt like there's a distance between those two. But I didn't know what the world it was because nobody knew the drama back then. The internet just wasn't the way the internet was back then. And I wasn't about to turn on the TV, the Entertainment Tonight, or like, read the Inquisitor or something like that. Then it kept seeing like both ladies were trying to one up each other in the acting department and in the action department. And, like I said, I don't think none of them are innocent. Because when you watch the show and you know what the characters are about and their power set, it makes sense for Phoebe to know like martial arts and stuff like that because her power is just literally premonitions and her sensing the empathy of people. She doesn't have a power that can like shoot out the people. Like she can't freeze and blow stuff up like Piper, and she can't move things with her mind or hand like Prue. So she needs a fighting style that will help her, not get killed and everything. And they even explained she was taking like self-defense lessons or kickboxing lessons or something like that, right? But then all of a sudden, somewhere in season 2 and especially in season 3, all of a sudden, Prue started knowing martial arts. And it's just like, well, how? Like they never explained how she knew martial arts because she didn't do it before. And not only was she doing it, she was doing it better than Phoebe and stuff. And Phoebe's the one who's supposed to be taking lessons. And it's like, if Prue knew this, why didn't Prue just teach Phoebe? And then there was that weird episode where they copied The Matrix and everything, where Prue basically was Keanu and everything, and or Mr. Anderson, what is his name? Neo, whatever his name was, and like literally went into like a demon, all Matrix style, like what's his name did. And I'm just kind of like, either the writers saw the Matrix movie, or maybe, just maybe, Shannon asked to have better fight scenes or something like that. But I always felt it weird because Piper didn't fight nobody hand-to-hand combat. She was the scared one and everything. But then all of a sudden, Prue's just like acting like Jackie Chan on the show and stuff. And I'm just kind of like, when did this happen? So I truly believe they kept trying to like one-up each other and stuff. And so during the first season, they really didn't have no problem with each other. But then around season 2, that's when everything started to happen. And in season 2, I was something like, I remember, I think, like, because they used to be getting along, because I think both Holly and Shannon were bridesmaids to like Alyssa and everything, to her first marriage and stuff. But then some of the drama that we are now finding out that we never knew before is because of, like, the podcast that Shannon has along with that of Holly and stuff. Let's be clear. And they talked about how Holly, I think had some kind of medical problem. I think she had like a tumor or something like that. It was bad to the point where they didn't know if she was gonna like live or die, something like that. It was bad. And so I'm thinking to myself, when they're having this conversation on the podcast, shouldn't this be like, I don't know, like a phone call or instant message or email they should be sending each other? But of course, because they wanted people to know, because Shannon wants to tell her side of the story so she doesn't always get labeled the bad girl of Hollywood and stuff, And so, like, because yeah, because she really was, I feel, blacklisted in Hollywood. 'Cause when you get that reputation, nobody wants to work with you. And this was before the internet, and you couldn't make no big video confession on like YouTube talking about, look, I'm not this way and this and that. Because I remember when Shannon did get fired and stuff, she tried to go to UPN to be on a sitcom, and it was a comedy because it's a sitcom. And I read somewhere that she wanted to do this because she wanted to show people that, hey, I'm not the bad girl of Hollywood. I have a sense of humor and this and that. Well, she only filmed the pilot, and she got replaced after the pilot. And in the show, they replaced her, I think, with Busy Phillips, I believe. The show didn't last long. It only lasted for like a season. Back in the early UPN days, no show really lasted. And so I felt like, oh man, that sucks and everything. Like, here she is trying to prove to people she's not this and that. And then she never got her opportunity. You know what I'm saying? But basically with the whole Holly like hospital situation is like, Holly asked her, she was very shocked and confused. Like, why isn't my best friend here and everything? Because everybody else is showing up from the set. Well, Shannon believes that it was Alyssa and it was Alyssa's mother that barred her from the hospital, but there's no real proof of evidence of that. She just feels that way. I don't know if Alyssa has ever responded to this or not, but Alyssa does keep very silent on a lot of like these accusations and stuff. And so, like, when you keep silent, that makes people think, okay, either it's true or you just don't want the drama. So nobody really knows. And when it comes to this situation, yes, a hospital can bar somebody from entering a room to see a patient. But normally it's the family members that, like, can bar somebody, not just like a person they work with. But who knows, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, if it did happen, then that totally sucks and everything, and that was just like so wrong. And so, like, when it comes to the infamous season 3, which I was so confused at the end of season 3, because I'm like, oh, okay, like Piper got hit. So the next season, they're like, it was reported that a sister has died. I'm like, oh no, it must be Piper. And then it's like, wait, it's Prue? Prue didn't get hit. And so that was always kind of weird. This is before the internet was the internet. I'm just kind of like, well, what the heck happened to Prue? Why isn't she a ghost? Why isn't she in the show? Why isn't this and why isn't that? And that's because, Shannon left at the end of season 3 or got fired and stuff. Most likely she got fired. And so when it comes to season 3, one thing fans never knew, but actually they kind of did, because, okay, there was a rumor years ago that Alyssa was dating the guy who plays, wait. There was a rumor that Shannon was dating the actor who plays Cole. And the rumor was, because this happened like about 15 years ago when this rumor came out. So people knew at some point in time that Shannon dated the guy who plays Cole. Well, of course, Cole is the love interest of Phoebe. And so there was a rumor that, Shannon likes to be very professional and everything, very serious on set. And Alyssa's a little bit more of the jokey one and everything because of her young age and stuff. Because they was in like their mid or late 20s, probably early 30s and stuff like that. And apparently, Alyssa would act very juvenile whenever having scenes with Julian, who played Cole and everything, and this rubbed Shannon the wrong way. And I can see that happening, and I can see what that pissed her off, because here it's kind of like, okay, look, I don't get along with you. You have to kiss my boyfriend and everything, and now you're acting like all like juvenile and stuff. I can see that like being a major problem and everything. And what people did not know at that time is that like the actor who plays Leo was dating Alyssa at that time. I think they did it in secret because I don't even think Holly knew and everything. And of course, Holly, the character Piper, dated and married Leo and had kids. So that had to have been awkward if she actually knew. And it's been revealed that, like, 24 years later, when they was on stage together, because they still talked, in between that time. But he has now apologized to her. And she was confused, didn't know what the world he was apologizing for. And so it's kind of vague, but basically he must have took a side back in the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause he's dating Alyssa and all this stuff is happening. So he must have took a side and acted kind of distance towards like the other ladies and stuff. And so all these years later, he's finally apologized for that, because him and Alyssa are not together no more, because she's now married to somebody else. So what exactly broke them up? Like, who knows? And not only that, but her first marriage didn't last that long, because if she got married early on and both the ladies were bridesmaids, and then she was dating what's his name in season 3, then their marriage didn't last long, or something was happening behind the scenes, if you know what I'm saying. But like, one thing I've noticed is like, okay, now there's been revelation that a mediator was supposed to come in and basically counsel the ladies and like, babysit them on set to make sure nothing happens. This happened in Titans season 3, when it came to the actor who played Scarecrow, because apparently he did something on set. Something you're not supposed to do. Most likely a Me Too type thing. And they kept him on the show as a recurring character because he was the villain. But he had to be monitored and watched and everything. Still to this day, nobody knows what the world happened. But anyway, so yes, a mediator is the person who's supposed to go around, make sure to keep the peace and, talk to him and stuff like that. Because things were getting pretty hectic, at least between all 3 ladies and stuff. Alyssa is the only one who talked to the mediator and stuff like that. But Holly and Shannon refused. Now, I don't know Shannon's reasoning, but Holly's reasoning was pretty much that she doesn't want this outsider coming in and, have to like pretty much just babysit them and everything when they don't know what the situation is like going on and stuff like that. That's like the gist of it and stuff. I don't remember the actual quote. And so like, but here's the thing, they had an opportunity to quell this and everything, and they refused and stuff. And it is odd that the 2 best friends are the ones that refused to do this. They probably did it because they was angry and stuff like that, and they have no idea probably what Alyssa told that dude and stuff like that. But here's the thing, they gave you the opportunity to like just quell this entire situation and try to keep like the peace and everything. And they did not do that. And so, of course, things are going to get more hectic and everything. And it's just kind of like, I know y'all love this show, but, if there's like a way that y'all can keep the peace, then they should have took it. But I can understand their frustration and everything, because they're grown women and they don't want to be babysat and everything, But when there is a conflict, and then this is what is supposed to happen, like the whole HR department and stuff, And so, like, I know that, like, they feel like Alyssa got Shannon fired. And the reason for that is because, like, they feel like Alyssa went to the head of the department and be all like, look, it's either her or it's me. So pick one, because I'm not going to stay if she's still on the show. Separating them on the show did not work by the third season and stuff. And they feel like because of that, they picked Alyssa over Shannon, because apparently they rumored is that Alyssa was asking for like more money and everything, and she wanted like top billing and be first on like the call sheet, and apparently she wanted to be the person in the middle of the photo shoots. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, whenever you will watch Charm back in the day, you will normally see Shannon in the middle and the other two girls on by her side. A person in the middle is the very important person in like a photo and everything when it comes to television and movies. That lets you know that is your lead. And apparently she asked to be in the middle one time, but then, for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. And when you watch the first season of Charm and you listen to like the promos and stuff, you can tell they was banking on Shannon Doherty's popularity from 90210 to propel this show, because you always heard, from like, from creator Aaron Spelling of like Beverly Hills 902 starring like Shannon Doherty and everything. Like you will always hear her name more than you would hear anybody else's, or you'll hear her name first. So they were probably really banking on her celebrity at that time to really push that show. And it had to have rubbed Alyssa the wrong way, because Alyssa's kind of like, well, yeah, she's famous from 90210, but I'm from like Who's the Boss and everything. But when she was on Who's the Boss, she was the child actress at that time. So she was a lead, but she was more like a co-lead and everything. So she probably felt miffed by that, and probably was all like, well, why does she get special treatment and I don't? And why does she get recognition and I don't? I can see that being a factor into her brattiness on set and everything. Because you gotta remember her age at that time. She was somewhere in like her mid or early 20s and stuff like that. And we all know how people are in their 20s. Sometimes they tend to act like a frat guy and everything. And so, like, this started causing conflict and everything. And we know that, like, Alyssa wanted more money because of Rose. Many years later, Rose decided to chime in and everything. And, 'cause when Rose talks, she's not very polite. She's just blunt and rosy and everything, And so, like, she pretty much talking about like Alyssa would throw like a hissy fit and ask for more money and made it like a nightmare on set, and and stuff like that. So we do know, yes, money was a factor when it came to Alyssa. And apparently she was paid less, I believe, maybe because she was the youngest. Because, Shannon came from 90210. Holly came from like, I think Little House on the Prairie, I believe it was. And plus those two are best friends. So maybe, just maybe, she helped her friend out get a little bit more money. And then Alyssa's, the one getting less money. And I feel like if you're on a television show and you're like a lead along with the rest, it's a simple cast, everybody needs to be paid the same amount. Kind of what the Friends stars did towards the end of the season. They asked for more money and they want to be paid the same thing. Because if you're all the leads, then you should be paid the same and stuff. But Hollywood doesn't always work that way. They're gonna pay the person who has more like, credits to their name or bigger credits to their name and stuff like that. And so apparently somebody went around set and asked all three ladies, hey, if we had to fire somebody, which one do you want? And I don't know if Holly and Shannon ever answered that question. Maybe they'll like, whatever, I'll just work with her, something like that. We don't know what Shannon said, what I'm saying? We don't really know what Holly said, because even though there are times these women sound truthful, they contradict each other like as years pass by, and it's just kind of like, I don't know really what to believe. So we don't know what their answer was, but for whatever reason, I guess they were still on board for have Shannon stay there. Now, as for Alyssa, we still don't even know what she said or if she didn't say nothing at all. But we all know Shannon is the one who got fired. And Holly recently came out and said, like, you could have said, I want her to stay, but you didn't do that. And so she feels she's implicit on having Shannon being fired. So most likely either Alyssa said, yo, get her out, or like, didn't say nothing at all. And then the people decided, all right, let's just get rid of Shannon because, she worked with Aaron before. Things did not work out on 90210 and she got fired, and here's now more drama. So they're probably like, it's probably best just to get her out and label her the bad girl and everything, and then like Alyssa and everything. And, I see where Holly's coming from, but at the same time, because like Alyssa has said, she didn't have the power to get nobody fired. And the thing is, it's like, if she would have kept quiet, then most likely they would have got rid of Shannon anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because of that history of the whole her and like Aaron. Because apparently, because we all know Shannon got fired from 90210, right? And because her and Jenny Garth did not get along, and Tori, who was best friends, Tori Spelling, who was that's her name, Tori Spelling? Yeah, I guess, were best friends with Jenny and everything, and went to her dad and got Shannon fired. And so Shannon was hesitant about joining Charm because, Aaron was attached to it. But then later on, she decided to do it. But she told him, she had reservations about wanting to join this show, and she still held a grudge against him for what happened on 90210. So if you tell your boss, hey, look, dude, I'm still holding a grudge against you because of what happened a long time ago, then yeah, he's gonna pick the person who has a grudge against him and everything. You don't tell your boss that and everything, And cause like, but then here's the thing about this whole ultimatum thing. Now, Shannon has said she never made no ultimatum. It was like, Alyssa and everything. But here is now the problem with the contradiction and stuff. Outsiders and everything. Luke Perry, who was on 90210, he said in his book that he wrote that Shannon told him that, she can't take it with Alyssa and she's going to make them decide which one they're going to pick. Then Jason Priestley, he's like pretty much said the exact same thing, but he goes into more detail. Now I can find his quote. Basically, it was around the third season, Alyssa and Shannon couldn't get along, and like, Shannon was bad mouthing her and stuff. And talking about how she can't take it no more, and she's gonna go to the higher ups and basically, tell them you need to pick one, either me or her and everything. And apparently from what Jason said, he tried to talk Shannon out of it, talking about, look, man, this is a good opportunity for you after what happened with 90210. Don't screw this up. Like, don't make them choose and this and that. And of course, we see now what happened. So it might not have just been Alyssa who gave the ultimatum. If Alyssa actually did it, we now know that it's a possibility that it was Shannon too, even though she denies that and stuff. And when it comes to the firing of like 90210, she has now taken full responsibility of that and everything because, realizing that she just, was a bit of a pain and everything and stuff. And because now her and Jenny and Tori have all now reconciled many years later and stuff. But when it comes to Jenny and it comes to that of like Tori, I think that's her name, right? Tori, anyway. They've now gone on her podcast to talk about it and stuff like that. Mainly because Jenny just ain't doing nothing and Tori is coming from like a very messy divorce. And proving to the world, she is weird, like very, very weird. But when it comes to Jenny and Tori, they're not innocent because I bet they was part of the problem too when it came to Shannon and all that conflict and everything. Because like, Jessica Alba literally said when she went on set, she was told not to look at them and this and that. And they're being coy about what happened. They're like, oh, I don't really remember what happened. Maybe it was me, and maybe it wasn't, blah, 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 blah. That don't sound like nothing I would do, and blah, blah, blah. And they kept joking and stuff, and it's just kind of like, come on now. Come on now. I know that was like 30 something years ago, but you ain't gonna forget something like that. Especially if it happened like with other stars, because Tiffany Amber Thiessen had a problem with them as well. So they need to stop acting like they're all sweet and innocent and stuff. Now, when it comes to all four ladies, this is where a lot of the confusion comes from now, because it's kind of like people assume that Alyssa and Shannon reconciled a couple of years ago because Shannon sadly got diagnosed with cancer. And Alyssa reached out to her on Twitter and everything, and it seemed like they are now getting along. Years later, that is not the case now. Now they are still back at each other's heads. And so, like, and what's so conflicting is also that of like Holly and everything. Because it's like, okay, Holly did Grey's Anatomy, an episode with Alyssa, right? And so people assume, oh, okay, y'all must be getting along and everything, right? But now Holly has teamed up with Shannon on the podcast, and they throw shade at like Alyssa. And every time Alyssa will say something, like I said, Holly will clap back and everything, and she feels like it's not truthful and stuff. And so it confused a lot of fans, because they're all like, they always assume Holly was the one stuck in the middle who doesn't take sides and this and that. But now it seems like Holly has firmly took like a side in this whole matter, because she even mentioned that when Shannon came out with her accusations of like Alyssa was like texting her this and that, but then decided to go on some person's late night show and say something contradictory to that and stuff like that. And the thing is like, you know, Holly has literally said, you know, yo, like, you know, we weren't all angels, and there has been some shadiness about her, like that whole Pretty Little Moms podcast that was started by Leslie, the mom who Spencer's mom and everything from Pretty Little Liars. She started a podcast with her husband, right? And she brought in the mom of what's that one, Emily. And she brought in Holly and everything, who was the mom of Arya and stuff. And I don't know what the heck happened, because I never watched that podcast, but it's no longer here. And from what people are saying online, that apparently copyright issues was a problem, because Holly and the other lady, not Leslie, wanted like copyright of it. And Leslie said no, because me and my husband started this. And apparently Leslie and her husband wanted more money because they are the ones who started it. Anyway, something happened behind the scenes, and now the entire podcast has been scrubbed off the internet. There's no sight of it whatsoever, because there was a huge fallout. And from what fans are saying, that Holly and Emily's mom, actress, threw a whole lot of shade toward Leslie. It was just like mocking her and this and that. And it's just kind of like, that don't sound like Holly and everything. But, you know, apparently this video got put out somewhere and maybe is true and everything. So when she says they're not all angels, like, she meant it and everything. Even she can be a bit abrasive and stuff. The actor Armin Shimmerman, who played Quark on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, I don't know nothing about him. The only thing about him I know is that he says his Star Trek show is the best there is. And of course, because, you know, he starred in it. But his show was really good, though. It's more realistic than any other Star Trek show. Anyway, he was in like the 4th season as like a wizard or something like that. Boy, did he drop some T-bombs and stuff. He has literally come out to say in the 4th season, this is when Shannon wasn't there and Rose was there. He says that basically he now knows why they was all cast as witches. He said he had a terrible time and that there was so much bickering going on by all like the ladies. That's like the gist of what he said. But the fact that he said he now knows why they was cast as witches, I'm like, whoa. Because Shannon has literally come out and said that all the drama never happened like where people can see it. It was always in private, but apparently that is not the case. And not only that, but Danielle Harris, who was in season 4, who was, I think, in some episode like The Other Sister or something like that, she literally said that if they was to pay her like millions of dollars, she would say no to being on that show. She had a terrible experience with all, like, like the ladies and stuff. And this is in season 4 when Rose was there and everything. Then there's this one actress who played like Twitzel or Fitzel or something like that, the little fairy girl and everything from season 3. She talked about like there was drama on set while she was there. Like she was too young, like she was young, you know what I'm saying? But she could tell there was something going on by like the lead actresses and stuff. And so apparently things were not all in private, as like, Shannon has said. Now, like, Shannon is doing this whole thing where she's basically doing the blame game on everybody who she feels has ruined her career. And fans are starting to pick up on that, like Kevin Smith. Like, she blames him for ending her movie career from some movie they did together, and he has apologized to her. Apparently, I don't know, I've never seen this movie. People online seem to like this movie, but it probably has a cult following. It probably is a crappy movie, and everything, because, Kevin Smith doesn't always make gold and everything in Hollywood. But I've never seen this movie. But the fact that she's blaming him for her movie career ending is really harsh and really jacked up, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I can understand if a movie hurts your career, because that can happen. Like if you're in a really bad movie, that will hurt your career and everything to where people don't want to hire you no more. But the other people in the movie are still getting hired and stuff. So it's not, that can't be the case and everything. And plus what people are saying online is like, she didn't even have a huge part. It was mostly just like a cameo. So if the movie bombed, which it did bomb, then why are people blaming solely her for the movie? She said it's because, she was really famous back then, so it's kind of like people assume that the movie's riding on her shoulders, and maybe they associated that in her career. But I don't know, man. It's just, lately she's just doing kind of like the blame game. The actor who plays Leo, I'm not sure. She blames somebody else at one point, and it's just getting to the point where it's just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, I doubt all these people are responsible for your career being the way it was. You gotta take some of that responsibility yourself. And like I said before, don't get me wrong, I am a huge Shannon Doherty fan. I'm a massive fan of hers, and I'm so sad she has cancer. I don't want her to die. I want her to live and everything. Because I don't want to go to TMZ one day and be like, oh no, like I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's like something where she's 80 or 90 and just dies of old age, then that's fine, because that's old age and everything, but not cancer, man, So I don't understand. Maybe she's getting satisfaction from this. Maybe it's making her happy, blaming other people and stuff like that. Like, who knows? You know what I'm saying? I do want her to be happy, but you got to take some of that responsibility yourself. And I truly feel like none of these actresses want to, well, I should take that back. I feel like some of them don't want to take the full blame of what happened between the drama and everything. But at the same time, because there are some that will confess, like Holly, like I said that, they're not all angels, implementing herself, but won't say what she did. Now, Alyssa has come out to say that she's already apologized for her past mistakes on that show, and she doesn't understand why it keeps getting brought up. Now, here's the interesting thing about her that I have a problem with. So she keeps saying this was like 20 something years ago, maybe 30. I don't know. I forget when the show came out, like somewhere in the 90s, right? So it's about 24, 25 years, something like that. And she keeps saying how, all this stuff is getting drugged back up, and why can't it just stay in the past? And she's apologized for past mistakes. At least she did apologize for those past mistakes. And I think I did see an apology somewhere online, but I don't remember. But here's the problem. You're also bringing this up. If you want this to stay in the past, why are you bringing it up? When people ask you about the drama on Charm, just say no comment and move on. And if that host keeps asking you, stand up and walk off set. Don't feed into the media, man. And one of the things that drug this back up was that book she wrote, Sorry Not Sorry, which Shannon has a problem with. Shannon, I think Alyssa wanted to get all the ladies in the room so they can hash it out and explain what all happened from their different point of views and this and that. Shannon has literally, I think in a video I heard her say, she doesn't want to do this. She doesn't trust anything Alyssa says, especially if you're going to write a book with the title, Sorry Not Sorry, then therefore you're not really sorry. Okay, this whole sorry not sorry thing that Alyssa is doing, it's not what people think. And I don't know why Shannon thinks that Alyssa really won't be sorry, because this doesn't have nothing to do with that. It has to do with Melania's Trump's green jacket she wore, where it said on the back, sorry not sorry, when there was like some crisis going on in America and people saw that as being shallow and everything. And we all know that Alyssa is a huge advocate for politics online, and that's where that whole title for that book came from and stuff. And because even Alyssa has teased, like, maybe I should run for the government and everything. No, please don't. Stay your behind out of politics. All right. This is my thing. I don't want to see another celebrity in politics ever again. And I wish they would stop running. A celebrity trying to be like in politics is kind of like when a celebrity is a main host on The View. I like The View, but when you're a celebrity from a TV show or from like a movie, and all of a sudden, like you become a main host on that show, your reputation goes down because you show your true colors. So no, don't go into politics and stuff. But like I said before, like, you know, if you really want this to stay in the past, just don't talk about it. Because every time you do, and the other ladies are like, well, this isn't what really happened, then they start chiming in. And then you start looking like a villain, and then you're all by yourself at a convention and everything. And this is now what has happened. Now, when it comes to this whole common denominator of who could be behind a lot of the conflict, like I said, yes, I do feel like Alyssa is smack dab in the middle of a lot of this conflict. Why exactly? Well, I see it like this. Alyssa appears to be, well, at that time, the youngest and everything, or one of the youngest and everything. She played the baby of the show, and so, like, you know, she was like, you know, Phoebe and stuff, and Phoebe was wild, she was immature, she wasn't always serious about stuff, and she had a temper when she was a lot younger. And I feel like Alyssa has some of them attributes in her and stuff, because, you know, you gotta think about around the time this was made. It was made in like the late 90s, and around that time Alyssa had came off of Who's the Boss when she was younger and a teenager. And her acting credits between, like, you know, Who's the Boss and Charm, it was mostly like a bunch of movies I've never heard of, probably some guest appearances. So her career in Hollywood wasn't really going the way she wanted, you know what I'm saying? And plus, when she was on Who's the Boss, you know, she didn't get paid much because she was a child actress at that time. And so, like, now she's on Charmed, and she's kind of like, wow, this could make or break me and could lead to more possibilities and opportunities and stuff like that, you know? So of course you're gonna want everything to go smoothly, but the problem is when you're young and you're like, you know, mid or late 20s and stuff, she most likely had a bratty, immature type attitude and stuff, and a little bit of a diva attitude probably. If that whole clique situation was true, she felt jaded and everything. And you know how people feel when they feel left out and stuff. So she probably acted out because of that. Also, it's kind of like, you know, she probably did get a bit power hungry at one point. Both her and Holly became producers on the show once Shannon left, because I guess Holly didn't want to get screwed. So they're like, hey, look, if I'm an executive producer, you can't screw me and everything, like too much and everything, you know? And, you know, like, so of course, both of them got paid more money. This probably resulted in the budget cuts towards the end, because the Daryl actor was just written completely off, and the Leo character only bopped in and out, and they kept bringing in all, like, you know, Kaylee Cuoco's character, and they kept trying to rejuvenate like the show and all this other stuff. And you notice that like storylines between like all the girls mostly center around Piper and Phoebe and stuff. Phoebe was getting a lot more of a push when Shannon left. So all of that had to have gone to her head and everything, young in Hollywood and wanting to succeed and not wanting to get screwed over, especially when there's like drama and stuff like that. And, so I see that as like playing out like a teen drama. I can see it where her acting career wasn't going the way she wanted it to. She got booked on like this popular show. The show blew up like nobody thought would happen. And I can see her getting money hungry. I can see her demanding more stuff because a lot of stars will demand the most outrageous things, you know what I'm saying? I can see all that getting to her head at a young age. Heck, look at all these former Disney and Nickelodeon stars, you know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that does happen. And then with Shannon being the more older and mature one and everything, that rubbed her the wrong way. And then not only that, but of course, her boyfriend was the love interest of Alyssa's character. So that caused conflict and everything. So this is why I feel that Alyssa was probably the way she was back in the day. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that's how some people are. Now, as to her not wanting to like bring all this drama back up and all this other stuff, because it's weird when the ladies will say something and she will stay quiet, or if the ladies will say something about her and she won't necessarily deny it, she will deflect from it and everything. And mostly when she deflects from it, it's the whole, this happened so many years ago. Oh, there was stuff on both sides, this and that. I think the reason for that is because, she's still a celebrity, she still acts, but she hasn't had a prominent acting role since Mistresses, and she left at the end of season 2, supposedly because, she was pregnant, she was pregnant, and she didn't want to leave her family in America, and the show was going over to Canada. There could be more to that situation. We don't know, because when it comes to Mistresses and the stars that was on the show, they don't talk about nothing about that show. It's almost like the show never happened and stuff. And so like, I've seen her in like Insatiable, which I didn't even know she was going to be in it. And of course, that only lasted for 2 seasons because it was a terrible show. And so she's done a couple of like, streaming movies here and there, some guest roles here and there. So her career is not really where she wants it to be. And just because you've been on a popular show in the past, don't mean you're super rich and famous. And so like, she probably doesn't want nothing that's going to taint her ability to get like a new role in this and that. And not only that, but you got to remember something. She has younger kids. Now, Shannon and Rose don't have kids, but like Holly's kids are much, 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 much older and stuff. Alyssa's kids, on the other hand, are younger. I don't think they're too young, but they're old enough to start hearing the gossip. They're old enough to go on the internet and read the rumors and stuff. And so, you know how that is, her being their mom, she doesn't want them to look at her in a bad light and everything, or start asking a bunch of questions about, is this true or is this not? Especially if like their friends start like bringing it up. So that could be a reason why she just wants to like, bury this hatchet and never bring it back up. And because she has stated she won't even let them watch Charmed and everything. Now, her reasoning for that is because, like, she doesn't want them to see her kiss a bunch of random men who are not their father and stuff. And, because Phoebe had a lot of boyfriends and stuff. So she doesn't want them to, like, see that. She's not going to want them to hear all the drama and start asking questions and this and that. And so I get that reasoning, but she needs to stop bringing it up. But the thing is, now, none of these women are going to stop bringing it up. Because, like, sadly, their acting careers are not where they used to be and everything, Like, You rarely see them in anything and stuff. And so now they're doing interviews, they're doing podcasts, they're doing conventions, and you know people are going to ask them questions about the charm drama. And they're going to answer because of the simple fact, it makes them still relevant. And, when you do conventions and interviews and this and that, you have to get like paid and stuff. So of course, if somebody's asking that question, you might as well get your money's worth and stuff. And so that is a huge problem because they would never just leave this situation alone. And when it comes to the reboot, that brought on a whole bunch of new problems and stuff. Because the CW created a charm reboot, and this rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, especially the original actresses and stuff. Especially when the creators kept saying, oh, we're gonna make this show about feminism and all this other stuff, and Holly clapped back talking about our show was always feminism and feminist and stuff like that, and all kind of other things. And the show, because it was a CW show, now they really banked on diversity and wokeness. Like I said before, I'm all for wokeness. I am black and everything. I'm all for supporting people of different diversities. The problem with the CW, it did the checkmark system. Nothing was genuine about that. They tried to capitalize on Donald Trump pissing off Latino people. So they wanted to make this cast Latino. The problem is the three sisters weren't all Latino. Only one was actually of Latino descent. And the other two were half black and half something else. One was half indigenous and the other one was half white. But the show promoted them as being all three Mexican women. And when you look at some of them, it's okay, when you look at one of them, okay, maybe she can pass as a Latino, but the other one clearly looked black and everything, but you can tell she was mixed with something. And so the problem with this is that at some point in time, Holly and Rose were in Mexico. Now, I saw this video in real time and everything on Instagram. And they was in a hotel and somebody brought up the charm reboot. Holly tried to be, the polite one and everything and said, oh, I just never watched it and everything. I never saw. Now, we know she has gripes about that show because she stated it before. But she's trying to be nice and everything. But saying, I never watched it, so I don't know. I can't judge it, this and that. Of course, here comes Rose McGowan. And Rose McGowan has no filter. And Rose McGowan pretty much just said the show sucks. And then she went on to say, I'm happy people have jobs, but the show just sucks and everything. Holly laughed. This got back, of course, to the actresses of the reboot, and every single last one of them chimed in, especially Sarah Jeffries. Now, Sarah Jeffries plays the Phoebe of the show, and she, just like Alyssa, she has that brattiness to her in real life and everything. Pretty much, she went off the handle, and, I understand she's defending herself and defending the show. I get that. You know what I'm saying? The problem that I had with this is the same reason that Holly had a problem with this comment, is that, Sarah said that, she's talking about, she hopes they find happiness instead of putting down women of color, which was messed up because, see, the whole thing about the Charm reboot is because Netflix took Charmed off, and Holly said something they probably want people to find a new one and not the old one with the old ladies and stuff. And so then that's when Rose talking about the show sucks. And just because she says the show sucks doesn't mean she's putting down women of color. And that's the problem I have with Sarah, because she was trying to start some type of race debate war type thing, and it had nothing to do with it and stuff. So Holly took to some extreme issues with that, because if you know Holly and never follow her on Twitter, she will support people of color. When all those black shootings were happening during Black Lives Matter, she talked up about that and everything. And so she doesn't have a problem with people of color, but Sarah tried to make it out that way. So then this feud started back and forth for a good while, with Rose chiming in again and stuff like that. Shannon and Alyssa stayed completely out of the feud until Shannon was brought in some kind of weird way. And so, like, I think, like I said, I don't remember Alyssa saying anything about the show. But of course, you know, it was literally Rose who started this argument. And it started with all the three new ladies. Now, the problem here is that, so then afterwards, while the feud between Rose, like Holly and Sarah was going on and everything, like Shannon got thrown into the mix. So before the show ever came out years ago, Shannon defended the reboot when people was like booing it and some of the co-stars were like dissing and stuff like that. But this is around the time, like, you know, that feud thing was going on. So when Sarah decided to one-up Holly and them by showing a picture of her father and Shannon Doherty. At some point in time, she mentioned that before COVID and everything, Shannon came to the set and, you know, was kind and sweet and all this other stuff. And she did that to, like, you know, throw like some type of shade towards Holly, because Holly is best friends with Shannon. And Holly, you know, and Sarah was getting into it online. I'm all like, dude, how you gonna throw this woman in the midst of like this drama, and she's not even part of the drama? And she did that just to stir up the pot. And I'm all like, dude, the woman has brain cancer, you know, like, you know, so why even post this picture trying to say, see, look, one of them likes the show and stuff like that? I'm just like, yeah, like, that's such a bratty thing to do. You know, the two actresses who pretended to be Hispanic, they're not exactly innocent, man. I mean, you literally are like half black, half indigenous, half white, and you trying to pretend to be a Latino on the show. And that's so messed up to the real Latino community. And then, so when the showrunners are like, oh crap, we got found out, because fans found out very quickly, especially when they went to Wikipedia. So then they had to retcon it and say that, oh no, only one of the actresses is like, you know, is Latino. The other ones are half black, but they still trying to say they're Afro-Latino, which they are not. And then, so it was originally the Prue slash, what was Rose's name on that show? Paige and Prue. So those two got combined to make the Madison character. And so then she was the one who was half black. But then, you know, once Sarah Jeffries got into that huge argument, later on it was revealed that she's half black on the show, and she's Afro-Latino character. And it's just like, dude, you can't act like you all innocent because, like, you know, you're pretending to be half black. I mean, half Hispanic, and you're not even Hispanic. And then what makes matters worse is that the actress Sarah Jeffries and the Madison actress, they got into it on the show years later that caused the show to get canceled. The actress who plays Madison, who is like the Paige Prue of the show, she left and everything by the 4th season. Just like how Shannon left by the 4th season. And it's because there was problems between her and another one of the actresses. And so when it comes to that of Sarah Jeffries and Madeline, like the two reboot Charm sisters, they had a feud. Like I said before, it's the Phoebe and the Prue. And so basically they're trying to say that Madeline was like a bully and all this other stuff and like all kind of crap. And I'm just like, this show is forever cursed, no matter if it's the original or if it's like the reboot and stuff. Now, Madeline did respond and everything, but it's no longer online because she like deleted it. But it was a very odd, very vague, cryptic like message, something about like assault and all this other stuff, and something like she's not like that. It's just a mess, man. It's just a mess. So yeah, when it comes to the OG Charm drama, I'm like so done. I am so over it. I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. Like, it's just really ruining the reputation of this show. You can't watch this show and look at it the same way like, you know, you used to no more because of all the drama and everything. When you see like Prue and Phoebe hold hands in the show trying to fight evil, you know deep down inside they didn't get along with each other and stuff. And the things that the actresses have been saying now, and the way they're saying it's the way they're saying it. It's not so much what they're saying, it's how they're saying it, especially when they throw shade and this and that, and when they won't fully 100% tell the truth, because I truly feel like none of them are truly 100% telling the truth, because they don't want themselves to look bad and everything. So I believe there's some truth in what they're saying, but some of it is also not. And so we will never ever know what truly happened on this show, because they're not all being like, truthful and everything. And that really sucks. And it's just kind of like, if you're not going to be 100% truthful, then just don't say nothing at all and everything. And I wish to God, like now, since they've all hashed it out, they all got their side of views of what's been going on and everything, I wish now they will all be like, you know what, let's just never speak of this again. If anybody asks us about this, let's just not say nothing. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to be in the same room, but like, let's just never bring up this drama again. And whenever one accusation comes up, nobody writes about it in a book and this and that. I wish to God they would do that, but they will not. When they was at that convention, that proved they were not going to do that. Like when the three women like sat in solidarity and everything, it is like they felt like they was vindicating themselves, and they had to stick up for one another, and they had to like unite and everything against this like force of evil. That's what it really felt like when you saw them sitting together. And then when you saw Alyssa sitting by herself, and Alyssa needs to stop answering questions about the drama. If she truly doesn't want to tell what really happened or confess all the stuff that she has done or probably has done, then she needs to stop mentioning it and stuff. Need to stop mentioning it in the book. Talk about something else. You know what I'm saying? Because this is really hurting the fan base. The fan base is divided. Whenever you see a comment on people's like, YouTube pages or like Reddit or like a picture online, it's always the same thing. Well, I think Alyssa is the problem with the show, and Alyssa seems evil and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And then you have a couple of people saying, well, I don't believe Shannon and stuff, but that Alyssa, I just don't trust her at all. And it's just kind of like, okay, if you were bratty and everything, if you had some problems, if you was demanding more money, let's just say so and move on, so everybody can move on from this. And if not, just move on in general. Stuff like, stop bringing it up, because it is going to affect their acting career. Because when, like I said with Shannon, if you're labeled like a problem in Hollywood, they're not gonna hire you and stuff. And like, Rose, she is pretty much killing her career because of like, stuff that she says like on Twitter and everything, and the way she says it. And then when it comes to politics and Alyssa, there are some people who, when they found out she was going to be in this Netflix like movie, they tried to campaign to get her fired because they don't like her views on politics and stuff. So it's like, when you add all that into like, the charm drama and stuff, it's gonna affect their careers. And right now the only one who's really acting is like Alyssa, but like barely. And it's like, if you truly don't want this to affect your career and you don't want this to be brought up, then stop talking about it and stuff. Because as a fan who loved this show, well, season 1 through 4 that is, it's hard to want to rewatch this show, because now I feel like it's always been fake, because the magic and stuff like that and CGI, but now it's just like that sisterly bond, it was not really always there. You know what I'm saying? And I hate, like I said, I hate when one of them will say, oh, I was never the problem, and blah, blah, blah. And, we acted all professionally, and except for this one person, and blah, blah, blah. But then when guest stars starts to chime in, because they're starting to see what's really going on, that it's the blame game, and that people are just pointing the finger at one person. They are chiming in and be like, hey, look, man, none of y'all were perfect on that show. All of y'all had problems and stuff like that. It wasn't just one sole person and everything. And when that happens, and then all these other celebrities start chiming in, then it makes people not want to like trust what they say and stuff like that. Especially when they keep pointing the finger and playing the blame game and stuff. Like, it's clout chasing in a way, you know what I'm saying? And it needs to really, really stop, because I can't look at them the same way no more. I'm still a huge fan of 3 of them and everything. And it sucks because it's kind of like, you know, you hate the idea of knowing that they secretly despise like one another and stuff like that. And I understand they're human and people have problems, and you know, not everybody's going to get along. But at some point in time, people can find a solution to their problem and learn to reconcile and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens, you know? But, you know, it sucks, because this was one of the greatest female-led shows ever. And it has now been tainted by backstage drama that at first was fun to hear about, but once that drama and the way they explain it has become so toxic now and everything, and it's just kind of like, you know, I'm so uninterested now, and I'm so uninterested in Charm. We'll never get that Charm reunion movie, and if we ever do, there's gonna be drama. There's gonna be people arguing online. Well, oh, this person was the problem of the show back in the day. And when you see them interacting with each other and talking, you know they're not gonna get along and everything. And it's just kind of like, this show feels forever ruined now. Like, it really does. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.